The GOAT, the greatest of all time, one of the most hotly debated arguments in basketball. While many people choose Michael Jordan or LeBron James as the GOAT, there are still 8 other players who put their name in the ring of the GOAT conversation. Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Tim Duncan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and Kobe Bryant. Despite all these names to choose from, usually only 2 players, LeBron and Jordan, get talked about, and rightly so. I'm not going to go too far into it because we've all heard the arguments before, and unless something happens in the upcoming playoffs, there isn't really too much that is going to change with the debate between these 2 guys. But this does make me wonder, what will it take to actually become the next GOAT? What will it take to challenge the throne to the king, or challenge his heiress? What's up guys, today we are going to be looking at what is it going to be taking to pass either Jordan or LeBron as the new GOAT, and are there any players in the current NBA who have a chance of reaching the summit of basketball immortality. Before we get into this, if you like NBA content, NBA 2K21, or even just me recreating NBA moments in games, then go ahead and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with future episodes. So one more thing before we get into this, a new GOAT does not have to copy what everyone else did. They do not need 6 MVPs, a perfect finals record, or 16 All-NBA teams. It is completely unfair to think that someone will have just as many rings as Russell, MVPs as Kareem, NBAs like LeBron, and a perfect finals record like Jordan. So for today, we're going to be looking at players in the top 10 GOAT conversation, and then we're going to shoot for around the median compared to all of today's GOATs and see who can actually reach those marks. And that might just be enough for someone to be the greatest of all time. I know this is kind of confusing how I'm explaining it, so let's just get right into it. First are championships. Championships are vital to measuring the GOAT. No other way shows off a player's dominance like bringing home an NBA championship. Russell has 11, Wilt has 2, Bird has 3, LeBron has 4, Jordan has 6, and Duncan, Magic, and Kobe all have 5. To find a middle ground, the new GOAT is going to have probably around 4 championships. Maybe we can make it 3 if they are able to win in an incredibly difficult way. Think the 2016 Cavs or the 2011 Mavericks. Second is the MVP. Simply put, you cannot become the GOAT without winning the MVP award, as every other GOAT before has won it at least once. Russell has 5, Wilt has 4, Kareem has the record of 6, Duncan has 2, Magic and Bird both have 3, Kobe has 1, LeBron has 4, and Jordan has 5. Finding a somewhat middle ground, we're going to want our new GOAT to have at least 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 MVPs. Next is the All-NBA awards. For the record, I have added up the first, second, and third All-NBA teams for the total. The least anyone has is 10, which is shared by Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and Wilt Chamberlain. The record right now is held by LeBron James, as last year he got his 16th All-NBA nomination, passing Tim Duncan and Kobe Bryant. And for the sake of argument, I'm also going to assume that LeBron is going to make one more All-NBA team this year, so we're going to count him at 17. So for our new GOAT, I do want to see them have at least 13 All-NBA teams, with ideally 10 of those being All-NBA first teams as well. I would also like to make a side note that I do not count and factor in All-Star appearances. All-Stars can sometimes be incredibly biased and don't actually show off how good of a player someone actually is. While we all love the gesture, Kobe Bryant was not an All-Star in his final seasons. In 2013 and 14, Kobe only played 6 games and averaged 13 points per game, yet he still made it into the All-Star game. Now, I'm not saying this to hate on Kobe, but it is more of about a criticism of the All-Star game. The All-Star game is meant to be showing off and more of an entertainment for fans and for basketball in general. It is not so much a metric of basketball players, which is why I count all NBA teams and not All-Star games. Okay, our fourth category is stats. All of these guys have career averages better than 99% of NBA players. Like I said, a player doesn't have to be the top of everything to be the GOAT. He doesn't have to have the most points, assists, and steals to be considered a GOAT. After all, neither Michael Jordan nor LeBron James are first in points, rebounds, steals, assists, or blocks. So because of this, our GOAT does not have to lead any one of these categories, but we do want to see if they can retire at least in the top 10 or ideally even top 5 depending on the position they play. No one is claiming that Michael Jordan is not the greatest of all time because he doesn't lead all-time points, but the fact that he is near the top or retired near the top is what is important. Fifth category is dominance and being the face of the NBA. Every player who's been mentioned in this video has at some point been the face of basketball. Bill versus Wilt, Kareem in the 70s, Magic versus Bird, Jordan in the 90s, Duncan and Kobe in the 2000s, LeBron in the 2010s. A GOAT needs to be the face of the NBA and ideally even have a lasting impact on revolutionizing the game. Of course, this is all personal opinion as there is no metric for someone who defines the NBA, but generally it is easy to get a consensus on who is the most dominant player in a time frame. And the other part of this is the time that they spent on top. Most of these players were at their peak for 10 plus years. All of these guys put their teams in championship talks just by being on the team. That is the level of player that we want to see. Someone who can dominate the NBA for a decade plus, be in championship talks, and become the face of the league. Okay, for our sixth category, we have superstar teammates. Now, stars play with stars. There is no doubt about that, and I'm not faulting anyone for having another superstar on their team, but a GOAT needs to be the clear number one option in their era of dominance. This is where both Bill Russell and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar face a lot of criticism. Russell played with 9 Hall of Famers, including 5 at one point, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar won 4 of his championships in Los Angeles, where for at least 3 of them, he was not the number one option. Even LeBron and Jordan faced this kind of criticism. And while I don't agree with these claims whatsoever, some people will still try to diminish the accomplishments of these 2 guys by claiming Jordan was carried by Pippen or LeBron played with Wade or that Ray Allen saved LeBron's legacy. The difference between guys like LeBron and Jordan and Kareem is that these guys were without a doubt the number one option on their team. Jordan was always the better player. He was always the Batman when Scottie was the Robin. When LeBron went to Miami, he was without a doubt the number one option over Wade, despite the fact that Miami was still Wade's team. In Cleveland, LeBron was the number one option over Kyrie, and even now, LeBron is still the number one over Anthony Davis. Our new GOAT can definitely have star teammates, and in the current NBA, it's almost inevitable that star players team up with each other. But we need to see our potential greatest of all time player be the unequivocal number one option on a team. If we doubt that they are truly the number one, then they most likely aren't the GOAT and most likely aren't even in the GOAT conversation. Do you want to know why most people put Magic Johnson and LeBron James at number 3 and number 2 on majority of their all-time lists? The only thing I have to say to that is Tragic Johnson and 2011. In Game 4 of the 1984 NBA Finals, Magic Johnson earned the nickname Tragic Johnson. After a bad pass that was stolen by Robert Parrish, he then proceeded to miss 2 free throws in overtime. His choking would eventually lose the Lakers the game, and Boston went on to win the finals. And I'm sure, as you know, LeBron James had one of the most infamous moments of his career in 2011, where the Mavericks, led by Dirk Nowitzki, upset the overconfident Miami Heat. LeBron James had one of the worst showings in his career, averaging 17, 7, and 7 with a 43% field goal percentage. Along with that, Jason Terry also hit an iconic shot over. And while LeBron arguably made up for this in 2016, many of his critics will never let live that moment down. These 2 examples are probably the largest reason as to why many people favored Jordan over those 2. There has never been an argument about Michael Jordan and LeBron James where 2011 hasn't come up at some point, as Jordan never had a finals meltdown that costed his teammate the championship. For our new GOAT, I want to see something similar, avoiding a complete meltdown or an unclutched finals or playoff performance. Of course, this is all opinion based, and for many people, a legendary moment can make up for another one, but generally we want the greatest of all time to avoid being on the wrong side of any big choking moments. So from all this, we want our new greatest player of all time to have 4 championships, 4 MVPs, be top 5 or top 10 in all major stats, have at least 13 All-NBA selections, a clear number 1 teammate, and avoid choking on the NBA's greatest stage. And I can already hear the comment section right now going off this claiming LeBron has all of those, therefore he is the GOAT. And while LeBron James definitely has a strong case, and given his career is still ongoing, he may still have the chance to take the title from Jordan, but many people will not let LeBron live down 2011, so this is why our new goal is to find the next GOAT. I have identified and ranked 5 players who I believe are on the path to be the next GOAT. I do want to say I am not expecting these guys to be the next Kobe, LeBron, or Jordan. I am simply saying that they have the ceiling and are potentially on the path to becoming the greatest of all time. Let's take a look at the list. In 5th place, we have Celtics forward Jason Tatum. At only the age of 22, Tatum is averaging 26, 7, and 4 while playing good defense and being the number 1 player on the Boston Celtics. Jason Tatum is bordering on becoming a superstar, and if he continues to develop into the next season, I think most people are going to see him as a top 10 player come next year. Tatum is also likely to get another All-NBA nomination this year, giving him his 2nd one in his young career. In 4th place, I have elected Zion Williamson. I'm sure many of the old guys are freaking out right now, but just hear me out. In only his 2nd season, Zion Williamson is averaging 27 points and 7 rebounds with a 61% field goal percentage. Just like Tatum, he is bordering on the top 10 players in the current NBA, and I'm guessing he's going to continue improving going into next year. I'm also estimating that he's going to get an All-NBA nomination this year, giving him his first one at only 20 years old. In 3rd place, we have Luka Doncic. Luka has already reached superstar status in last year's playoffs. This year, he is averaging 28, 8, and 8. Luka has also been a much improved defender and 3-point shooter. He also has an All-NBA team, and he's likely going to get another one, giving him 2 All-NBA selections at the age of 21. In 2nd place, I have Nikola Jokic. Jokic is going to win the MVP this year, averaging 26, 11, and 8 for the Nuggets. I'm also assuming that he's going to get an All-NBA team. This is giving Jokic 3 All-NBA teams and 1 MVP when he is 25 years old. With the young core that the Nuggets have, we can assume that they will continue on to develop into one of the best teams in the NBA and be a potential championship team for years to come. Nikola Jokic has already established himself as the best passing center ever, as he has even had a part in revolutionizing the NBA, as many teams will be looking for their new younger centers to be able to learn how to pass and use them in the offense outside of the paint. So that means the current player who I think is most likely on the path to the GOAT is the Greek freak Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis is 26 years old, averaging 28, 11, and 6. He has 2 MVPs, and he is also on pace for his 5th All-NBA team. He also is on pace for his 4th All-Defensive NBA team, and he has the Defensive Player of the Year. Many people are seeing the Greek Freak as being the new face of the NBA and someone that LeBron James is going to pass the torch on to. If he can stay healthy and continue his current dominance, I could see a future where he can become the greatest ever. As a quick disclaimer on some of the new guys, Michael Jordan was 27 when he won his first championship and first MVP, meaning guys like Jokic and Giannis are actually kind of ahead of schedule. LeBron won his first MVP at 24 years old, but then didn't win a championship until he was 27. And Kobe, with his surprising only 1 MVP, he didn't win that until he was 28 years old. My point is that these guys have time. None of the guys I have listed are older than any of our GOATs when they reach their actual peaks. All of these guys can still win MVPs, win championships, and gain all NBA teams before Jordan or LeBron. I know for many of us, seeing these guys and saying that these young 20-year-olds are in line to become the greatest of all time sounds weird. And well, that's because it is. But that doesn't mean it's wrong. Jordan was not always the greatest of all time. Before him, there was Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. Before Magic and Bird, there was Dr. J. Before Dr. J, there was Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain. Before Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain, there were guys like George Mikan. The greatest of all time changes. It's not a position that is untouchable once it has been achieved. But after all, don't we want to see these guys challenge the GOAT? As NBA fans, don't we want to watch the best of players? Don't we want to watch Luka develop into a star? Watch Jokic change the center position? Watch Tatum try to be the next Kobe? We shouldn't be hating on these young players because they're trying to be like our legends, because they view them just in the same way that we do. But as fans who want the best for the sport, we want to watch greater talent. We want to watch more people ascend to the basketball throne. We want to be the one who watches the new greatest of all time. So while I'm not saying that any one player is guaranteed to be or not to be the GOAT, just keep your eyes open or you might be missing greatness.